Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents From the Forest by L.E. Modesitt Jr. Narrated by Kirby Heyborne. Alayiakal, North Point, Jakafra. 1. A youth sits in a chair behind a writing desk in the corner of the study. He looks to the vacant white oak desk, polished and without papers or any objects upon it, then toward the open door to the hallway, before returning his attention to the small book he holds, the cover of which is white leather. Some time later he hears steps approaching the study door, but he keeps his eyes on the angular letters on the page he has stopped reading. "Alayiakal, have you finished your studies?" asks the wiry figure wearing the green-trimmed white uniform of a mirror lancer major. "Yes, sir." The youth immediately looks up, his eyes seeming to meet those of his father. "What have you learned?" "That chaos must be directed by the least amount of order possible. The greater the order, the more likely it is to weaken the force of chaos." "What does that mean?" "Mean, sir?" "If you're going to aspire to the Magi, boy, you can't just parrot the words." The slightest hint of impatience colors the major's words. "So, what do the words mean, sir?" Alayiakal is careful to keep his tone polite. He doesn't want another beating. "You tell me." The major's voice is hard. "Magus Triamon says that you can sense order and chaos if barely. Your mother would have been disappointed by such sophistry." Alayiakal holds the wince within himself at the reference to his mother. "Chaos has no order. It will go where it will. Order is necessary to direct chaos, but order reduces chaos. The skill is to direct chaos without reducing the power of that chaos." "Alayiakal, you understand. From now on, every stupid question will merit a blow with a switch or lash." "Yes, sir." "Your supper should have settled. It's time for your blade exercises and lessons." "Yes, sir." The major turns, heading for the rear terrace. Alayiakal closes the white leather book, sets it on the writing desk, and stands. While he is now nearly as tall as his father, he is only 16 and slender, so far lacking the physical strength of his father. Until the last season, he had dreaded the blade lessons. Although they practiced with wooden wands, he had always ended up with painful bruises. Now, as he walks to the rear terrace of the quarters, he is merely resigned to what may be. He understands all too well that if he fails to satisfy the Magi, he will follow his father into the mirror lancers. The practice wands, wooden replicas of mirror lancer sabers, hang on the rack by the door. As Alayiakal eases his wand from the rack, he considers his lesson. Order must direct chaos, but it also must direct a blade. For an undirected blade cannot be effective. Can he use his slight skills at sensing order to determine where his father's blade must go? He takes a deep breath. It is worth the effort. He cannot be more badly bruised than he has been in the past. He makes his way to the terrace and waits in the warm air of late spring. He does not wait long, for the major appears in moments, his own wand in hand. "Ready?" "Yes, sir." Instead of concentrating on his father's eyes, Alayiakal tries to sense where his father's wand will go before it does. For the first few moments he is scrambling, dancing back, allowing touches, but not hard strikes. Then, slowly, he begins to feel the patterns and to anticipate them. He slides his father's wand, and then comes over the top to pin it down, but he cannot hold the wand against Kyle's greater strength, and he has to jump back. "Good technique, but you have to finish," The major is breathing hard. "Keep at it!" By the end of half a glass, Alayiakal can slip, parry, or avoid almost every attack his father brings to bear, but he is sweating heavily enough that he can't see clearly when Kyle abruptly says, "That's enough for this evening." Alayiakal lowers the wand. "You worked hard, and your defense is much better. Just apply yourself that hard to your studies and you shouldn't have that much trouble." "I'm still bruised in places, sir." "At your age, that's to be expected." His father nods. "You're free to do what you will until dark. Don't go too far. If you're going to walk the wall road, don't forget your saber." "Yes, sir, I won't." Alayiakal is sore enough that he isn't certain he wants to go anywhere. At the same time, being free for a glass or so is a privilege not to be wasted. Still. After several moments, he decides to at least take a walk, if only to show that he appreciates and will use the privilege. He follows his father inside and carefully racks the wand, then goes to wash up and cool down. Less than a quarter glass later, he walks out the front door and around the small and narrow privacy screen wall, the ancient mirror-lancer cupridium blade in the scabbard at his waist. He does not breathe easily until the officers' quarters at Jakafra are more than 100 yards behind him, as is the tall building that holds the northernmost of the Chaos Towers. Before long, he walks southeast along the white sunstone road, paralleling the white stone wall that, along with the wards powered by the Chaos Towers, confines the accursed forest. Alayiakal glances to his right. Between the wall and road, there is neither vegetation nor grass, only bare, salted ground. To the left are fields and orchards, and a few cots and barns, fewer with each K from Jakafra, until the next town, K's away. He keeps walking along the road, flanking the white wall, glancing back, but he sees no one, no lancer patrols, not that he expects any. While his eyes remain alert for any movement, especially near the wall, his thoughts consider what had happened during his blade practice, and how he had not previously thought of using order to help in using a saber. How else might I use order? He doesn't have an answer to that question, but he does not have time to pursue it because some 50 yards ahead, at the base of the white stone wall, is a black beast, a chaos panther, lowering itself as if to spring and charge him. He draws the antique lancer saber, knowing that its usefulness against such a massive beast is limited at best. Then the black predator is gone, and a girl, a young woman, he realizes, stands beside the wall. He starts to walk toward her, and as suddenly as she was there, she also has vanished. He looks around, bewildered, but the salted ground between the patrol road and the wall remains empty, for as far as he can see. Carefully, if unwisely, he knows, he moves toward where both the black cat-like creature and the young woman had been. Once there, he studies the ground. There are boot prints, but no paw prints, leading to the wall, not away from it, as if someone had walked from the road to the wall. He can find no boot prints leading away. A concealing illusion? It had to be, but he can sense neither the heavy blackness of order nor the whitish red of chaos. And from a woman, when there are no women magi? Finally, after waiting and watching for perhaps a fifth of a glass, he turns and begins to walk back home, thinking. 2. On 4-day morning, as on most mornings, except 7-day and 8-day, Alayiakal sets out early on the 3K walk to the house of Magus Triamon, carrying only the white leather-bound book and not wearing the old mirror-lancer saber, since his father has made it more than clear that he may not wear it into the town. He makes his way east to the narrow stone road that runs northwest of the Lancer compound, taking a last look at the white stone wall that girdles the accursed forest, then turning toward Jacafra. While he walks swiftly, nearly a glass passes before he steps onto the porch. He knocks 3 times, then once, before stepping back and waiting, standing between the privacy screen and the door. He is about to sit down on the wooden bench beside the door when it opens, and the gray-haired magus stands there, his angular countenance younger than his hair would indicate. Triamon says nothing, just steps back and motions for the youth to enter, closing the heavy door behind them. Alayiakal follows him to the study, which contains a tall and narrow bookcase, a desk and 2 chairs, an ancient white oak cabinet that has aged to a golden shade, and a table slightly over waist-high, topped with dark gray soapstone, on which rests a single candle in an unornamented bronze holder. "Today you're going to learn a bit more about the dangers of chaos, Alayiakal." Triamon gestures to the oak cabinet that is beside the stone-topped table. "How old would you say that cabinet is?" "The wood is aged. It looks to be at least 50 years old." "It does look that old." "It's not. It's but 10 years old. That's what too much chaos too close can do." "You said that you always keep chaos under control, sir." "I'm careful, but I've taught a few other would-be magi besides you." "They did that?" "So will you, after a time, if you're not careful," Triamon says, eyes on his student. For a moment, Alayiakal says nothing, then realizes that the magus expects a response and blurts, "After a time? Is that because I can't muster enough chaos to affect the chest until I'm stronger?" "That's one reason, but there's another." "Because young mages use more chaos than they should?" Triamon smiles momentarily, then says, "They often do, but that wouldn't matter except for the reason I'm seeking." Alayiakal tries to conceal the puzzlement he feels. "For the present, I'll not tell you, and we'll see if you can come up with the answer over the next few 8 days. I will give you a hint. You won't find it in your text." "If it's not in Basics of Magery, where am I supposed to find it?" Alayiakal is aware enough not to ask the question. After a slight pause, Triamon says, "In the meantime, you must sharpen your awareness of order and chaos. Watch the candle, with your senses, not your eyes." Alayiakal concentrates on the candle as a point of chaos touches the already blackened wick, and as the heat of that chaos creates the usual flame of a lighted candle. "Is there more chaos in the flame or in the candle?" asks Triamon. "The flame," declares Alayiakal. The magus shakes his head. "What does the book say about forms of chaos?" "There are 2 basic forms of chaos, free chaos and order-bound chaos." "And what is a candle composed of?" "Order-bound chaos," replies Alayiakal. "But I can't use it or sense it, so it seems to me—" "The failure is in your senses. What does the book say about the relative power of order-bound chaos and free chaos?" "Free chaos is the most powerful." "That's not quite what it states, Alayiakal. You need to read more carefully. I'll expect a better answer tomorrow." "Yes, sir." "Now, I'm going to gather points of free chaos. You compare the point I've gathered to the amount of free chaos in the candle flame, and tell me which contains more free chaos." A larger point of chaos appears beside the candle flame. "Your point contains more chaos." Triamon reduces the amount of gathered chaos. "Now, which one?" "Yours." Triamon moves the chaos point farther from the flame. Now which? Yours. The magus moves the chaos point to the far side of the study. And now? They seem about the same. What they seem could kill you if it's not correct. Which has more? The candle. Triamon shakes his head. I contracted the chaos so that it was more tightly packed, but it held more chaos. You went by the size you sensed, not the amount of chaos. By the end of the glass that is the length of his lesson, Alayiakal has a headache, but he has improved greatly in his ability to sense the relative strength of the chaos point compared to the candle. You're getting much better ability. In the days ahead, I'll have you work on judging strengths of dissimilar or mixed forces. Mixed forces? How else can a magus create and throw a chaos bolt? Some chaos bolts are deadlier than others. As a magus, you need to sense immediately what you need to use and what you need in defending yourself. Triamon pauses. Now, I'm going to give you an exercise you can do at home. Despite his headache, Alayiakal concentrates on Triamon's instructions. When Alayiakal leaves the dwelling of the magus, his steps are slow for several reasons. Even though it isn't even midday yet, the early summer sun feels as hot as midsummer. Also, there is no real reason to hurry, since his father won't be home until late afternoon, if then, and Aureya will not arrive until early afternoon to clean and then prepare dinner. His steps remain slow as he thinks over his lesson, trying to puzzle out why stronger mage students created more uncontrolled free chaos later in their studies rather than earlier, especially since Magus Triamon had agreed with his suggestions, but had said there was another reason. He also frets over the fact that he had not read the text carefully enough, particularly if the magus reports that to his father. Carelessness or sloppiness or stupidity always results in punishment. But you get privileges if you do well. Except that it often seems he doesn't meet his father's standards. Alayiakal smiles ruefully, recalling his father's words he has heard in one form or another more than once, usually when he thinks about complaining, not that he's actually said a word of complaint in years. That's life. Mistakes can cost everything. Rewards are few, and those rewards are to be cherished. Despite his measured pace, Alayiakal has to blot the dampness from his forehead as he steps into the coolness of the quarters. The day is even warmer than he expected, and summer swelters around the accursed forest on the best of days. After standing for a moment in the small entry, he walks into the kitchen, but finds little to eat except bread and cheese in the cool box. Since bread and cheese is better than nothing, he eats what has been left for him, along with some water. After eating, he takes the copy of Basics of Magery to the shaded corner of the rear terrace, sits on the bench and begins to read, forcing himself to concentrate on the words and their meaning. After half a glass, he has still not found the words or phrases that he must have misread, or that Magus Triamon may have remembered from another text. Another quarter glass passes before he finds what he seeks. Order and chaos comprise all objects, from the smallest grain of sand to the massive sunstone blocks that provide the foundation of the Palace of Light. The chaos in a mere pebble is scores upon scores more powerful than the firebolts of the greatest of the Magi, yet bound as it is to order, that power held within the pebble cannot be gathered by a magus unaided, and is as nothing, so that a magus must gather free chaos from where he can. Alayiakal rereads the paragraph once more. How did you miss that? He takes a deep breath and continues reading, forcing himself to read all the words, even the boring ones and those too often repeating the obligations laid upon any who would be magi. When he finishes rereading what he had obviously not read closely enough, as well as the next section of the text equally closely, it is well past mid-afternoon. Since Aurea has finished her cleaning and is in the kitchen preparing the evening meal, Alayiakal will not disturb her if he goes into the study, which he does. There he takes down 2 night candles in their holders and sets them side by side on the writing desk. Then he uses a striker to light one, an effort that takes more than a few attempts. Following Triamon's instructions, he concentrates on the lit candle as much with his senses and thoughts as with his eyes. In time, he begins to sense what is almost an image of golden reddish white around the tip of the candle wick, as well as a faint blackish mist above the point of the flame. Yet he sees neither the white nor the black with his eyes. Of that he is certain, but they are there. Next, he concentrates on replicating the pattern of golden whiteness around the tip of the wick of the unlit candle. Sweat beads on his forehead. Nothing happens. "You must not be doing it right," he murmurs to himself. He shakes his head, then closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. Finally, he concentrates once more. The wick of the unlit candle remains dark. "Do you need to look at the candle?" He looks steadily at the candle, concentrating, but the blackened wick remains as it was. Next, he closes his eyes and tries to visualize the dark wick and a pattern of golden whiteness around it. He opens his eyes quickly, only to see a tiny point of redness, visible to his eyes, wink out. "You can do it," he says quietly, redoubling his efforts. Sweat is running into his eyes a quarter glass later when the candle flickers alight and stays lit. Alayiakal allows himself only a brief smile and a moment of rest before he blows out the candle and repeats the effort. After a deep breath, he once more blows out the candle and relights it, just by focusing order on chaos. He has repeated the process once more when he hears the door open and the heavy footsteps of his father, steps seemingly far too ponderous for a man as small as the Major. "What are you doing with the candles?" asks Kyle, not quite brusquely, as he steps into the study. "Practicing an exercise that Magus Triamon gave me. He told me to work on it until I could do it instantly." "Lighting a candle?" "Lighting it without a striker, sir. That requires gathering chaos. He says it's the first step in mastering chaos." Slowly, Kyle nods, as if he is not certain about the matter. At that moment, there is a series of knocks on the front door, followed by a loud voice. "Major! Sir!" The Major turns and walks swiftly from the study to the front door, which he opens. Alayiakal does not follow, but strains to listen intently. "Major Kyle, sir, it's happened again." "What?" snaps the Major, whose voice is far larger than his stature. "Another dispatch rider is gone. The incoming patrol found his mount and the dispatches. There's no sign of him. The men claim they saw a black chaos cat, one of the big ones. It was prowling outside the wall just to the southwest of the northern point." "Send a squad with fully charged fire lances. I'd like a report of what they find, or what they don't." "Yes, sir." Kyle closes the door and walks back to the archway into the small library. "We'd best eat early. There's no telling when we'll get another chance." He pauses. "Are you finished with the exercises?" Alayiakal nods. "I did what the Magus wanted." "You can tell me about it at supper. We need to wash up. I'll tell Aurea to get the plates ready." When the two are finally seated at the table, Araya sets a platter of mutton slices covered with cheese and a yellow-green glaze of ground rosemary. One smaller platter holds lace potatoes and another thinly sliced pear apples. The pitcher holds a decent but not outstanding red wine. Kyle serves himself, then passes each platter to Alayiakal. "What about the exercises?" "Every flame holds both chaos and order, but there's almost no order and much more chaos. Magus Triamon taught me how to sense both order and chaos in the flame. He says that's the easiest way to sense them at first. Once I could sense them, and he made sure of that by swirling the patterns, he made me try to move the chaos myself. Then he sent me home with the exercise. That was to light a candle, and then learn to light another one by duplicating the pattern of chaos around the wick. It took a while, but I did it 3 times in a row. Next, I have to light a candle without using another candle as a pattern." "Do you think you'll ever be able to match a full magus?" asks the Major, not quite diffidently. "Magus Triamon thinks I can, if I keep working." Kyle nods slowly. "I'd advise you to work very hard, son." "I will, sir." After a silence, Alayiakal looks at his father. "Is that because I will not match you in might?" Kyle laughs. "Oh, you'll be able to do that in another year or so. You're still growing, and it looks like you'll be taller and broader than me. Your technique is far better than mine was at your age. No, it's because too many mirror lancers are being killed fighting the barbarians who swarm across the grass hills, especially to the north. We need better weapons. Perhaps you'll be able to become a great enough magus to create them. Even if you don't, the Magi are the only ones who can use the mirror towers to keep our fire lancers charged." "You don't want me to be a mirror lancer officer like you?" "I'd like it very much, but the son of a lancer major from Jakafra is likely to do no better than his sire, if his talents are limited to the blade and skill at arms alone. Why do you think I insist on your reading about tactics and logistics?" "But, Magus Triamon—" "You may become a great magus. You may not, but a lancer has 3 weapons: his saber, his fire lance, and his mind. Fire lancers are powered by chaos. If you do follow in my steps, the more you know and the more you can do with chaos, the better you will be with your weapons. The more you study with the magus, the more you will know what I cannot teach you, and that will sharpen your mind even more." Kyle clears his throat. "There is one more thing. All the senior Mirror Lancer officers come from the great families of Cyad. If you wish to rise further than I have, you must become more capable than all of them. You must be so clearly so superior that none can contest you." Kyle smiles wryly. "That, you will find, is true in all areas where a man must make his way." His words turn sardonic. "At times, even that is not sufficient." Alayiakal sits, silent. Never has his father talked so bluntly. "It's time you began to learn more of how the world works, really works. Now, eat your supper. I'll have to leave soon to see what that squad has found. You can walk a bit tonight, but go the southeast way. And be careful." "Yes, sir." Once they finish eating, and after the Major leaves the quarters, Alayiakal fastens on the old sword belt and scabbard, checks the saber, and then slips out into the early evening air, still steaming, but not quite so unbearable as it was several glasses earlier. Once he is away from the quarters buildings of the Mirror Lancer outpost, he studies the wall even more closely, but he sees no sign of anyone or anything on the road or near it. Then, after he has walked close to half a K, in the early twilight, when his eyes move from the fields of a small stead on his left, whose house is out of sight, and likely as far from the wall as possible, to the cleared and salted...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?